all of our emotions are created by our thoughts. Some of my favorite thoughts are things like, oh, how very human of me. I would say if we're trying to get to the south end of the lake, which is some peace and some compassion, then rowing north isn't going to get you south.
Yeah.
And rowing north is all the judgment and lack of patience for yourself. But if you're just like, oh, hun, I see what you did there, you just come out of it a lot faster.
Just so excited to have you here, Jody Moore.
Thanks for having me, Elle. I'm so happy to be here.
You, okay, I was thinking the other day about how I found you because you were my actual introduction to all things coaching and self-development in a truly practical, real way. I'd read Eckhart Tolle and Michael Singer, tons of spiritual work, whatever, more therapy type things, or modalities. But there was a quiz online.
Oh my goodness.
That
was a long time ago.
And it was I was going to say it was how to stop yelling at your kids, but that's not what brought me in. It should have. But it was actually your emotional maturity.
I was going to say it was probably your emotional age or something.
Oh my God.
That was a long time ago. What did it say your emotional age was? I think it was either broken down to child, adolescent, or adult.
I think I was maybe adolescent. I think I was a child.
Well, we all are at times.
I was
that's the problem with that quiz is it's you're an emotional child and nobody really wants to hear that. And I tried to set it up where it's but we all do it at times and it's fine. And here's how we can help you. But
no, it wasn't shaming.
No longer available.
It wasn't shaming at all, but I was whoa, why didn't we learn this stuff in elementary school? It just brought me head first into your work. And I think most people, I binged your podcast and then I joined your program and then I'm a diamond member.
Yeah.
And I have been for literally 7 years.
That's awesome. I know.
So thank you.
One of my best students. I'd like to take all the credit for all your success, Mel. Thanks. No, I'm just kidding.
You should.
Yeah, I know. We've known each other a long time. I remember you from the early days of when I first started doing live events and everything. And you're a great example of internalizing and living everything I'm trying to teach and trying to practice myself.
So much of the purpose of this podcast is to help mothers, especially when they're down the proverbial well of just totally in the unknown in different phases of life. And that phase for me was right after my dad died. And it was a complicated relationship, complicated grief. And I really feel your program, your coaching made it so I could find all the treasures of that, where it became it's painful, it's hard, but it was also this amazing period of self-discovery and healing. And I don't know, it's amazing. So grateful for your work. So that's your introduction. It's you're a master coach. And if you don't know Jody, you should know Jody.
Well, thank you. I mean, I actually discovered coaching when I was in that phase of what you're talking to women. Well, one of the many phases, I guess I should say, when I first started having children, and it was what I'd always wanted, right? It was to be a mom, get married, be a mom. And suddenly that was happening. And I was so down a well.
Yeah.
And then felt guilty about it. Why do I not enjoy this more? Why am I struggling so much? And it wasn't it was easy to love my children and everything. And I had gratitude for that. But I just felt maybe I'm not cut out for this actually.
Yeah.
So anyway, that coaching really, really pulled me out of that. And that's why I'm so passionate about it today. 12 years later. So.
Yeah. 12 years later. So you've been coaching for 12 years.
Almost 12 years, actually. Going on 12 years. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And your Natalie Clay sister who's been on this show, who we love.
I love Natalie.
Love Natalie. I have a funny story about Natalie. We all have funny stories about Natalie because she's so funny.
Yes, she is.
She's so funny. But a while ago, she said, okay, I'll ask her if this is embarrassing. We can take this out
No,
if it is.
we're not asking her.
Yeah, we're not asking. She wouldn't ask. She said, she's like, how's the podcast going? She said, it seems like you've had some really amazing guests on. She's like, was that Ellen Montgomery, the author of Anne of Green Gables? And I was like, Natalie, she's dead. She died like 100 years ago. Nice try. Also, you do not have to listen to my podcast. That was so funny. Anyway, it's like, I love Natalie.
You know what?
I love Natalie.
Natalie and I are good at a lot of things. Literacy and, academics, not really our thing.
You guys are street smarts. You guys are street smarts. You're both
smart.
very, very smart, though.
There you go.
So we are going to talk more about like coaching, more of this practical, everyday, boots on the ground kind of coaching. I think that is really your expertise when you're down the well. When you think about those seasons where life feels just heavy, confusing, overwhelming, what comes to mind from your work with women and their thoughts?
Well, the first thing I guess that would be important for people to understand is that I teach that all of our emotions are created by our thoughts. And I say all with an asterisk because there is biology, I do believe, that can influence our emotions. There's chemical, hormones, things like that. But for the most part, what we're experiencing emotionally is coming from what we're thinking. And so when you talk about being overwhelmed, for example, it's not it's not my to-do list. We often want to give the credit to the to-do list, right? I remember feeling this way again as a new mom. Okay, well, I have these babies that need diapers changed and fed, and the house is a mess, and I need to take a shower, and all the things that I want or think I need to get done in the day, and we give that the credit for our overwhelm. But those things are not the reason I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling overwhelmed because I'm thinking I need to get all these things done, or I am the only one doing anything around here, or why are these kids crying, or it's whatever thoughts and stories we have in our mind that are creating our emotions. And that's not to say that we shouldn't be feeling those emotions. And I think that's where my work gets really misinterpreted is, and even just coaching the way I coach anyway, in general, is people think that the purpose of coaching or the purpose of paying attention to your thoughts is to feel better and have more positive thoughts. And sometimes it's that, but actually that's probably only 50% of the time.
Yeah.
And the other 50% of the time is recognizing it's okay that I feel overwhelmed. And I'm not so the body kind of goes into this like fight or flight, right? State when we have a lot of negative emotion. And that is meant to tell us that we're in danger and we need to do something to get out of that state. But you're not in danger when you're overwhelmed, right? Even when your kids are crying and they're hungry and whatever, you're not in danger. Your kids aren't even in danger, most likely. It's okay for babies to cry. It's okay for the house to be a mess. It's okay for things to take longer. And so when you know, like, this is just because of sentences in my mind, and I don't have to let it go. I don't have to want to do all the things. I just have to know this overwhelm isn't real danger. And so I think I got off track with your question, but the first thing I want women to know is like, this is all just created by sentences in my mind. And that doesn't mean necessarily you need to change them, but just know that you're not in real danger.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm
getting
saying.
that, being able to like, what is that? Like sit at the seat of your consciousness. I mean, you're just observing your brain. You're just like getting that bird's eye view of like, okay, this is what's happening, does create so much more peace, like right off the bat. And again, it's not, like you said, it's not just to be at peace all the time, but there is a kind of like release valve or something that
and it's even before you gain the awareness, because there is a lot of power in the awareness of what am I thinking?
Yeah.
What am I making this mean? Or, what ideas, what stories, what maybe baggage, some of which I might want to let go of or change. But even before you become aware of that, I always do just use the term sentences in my mind.
Yeah.
Because I don't even have to know what they are. I just want to remind my nervous system that I don't have to stay triggered because I'm not being chased by a tiger right now. And your nervous system doesn't always know that, right? When you're feeling stress. I coached a woman the other day who was like, every time I take my kids somewhere and then we get in the car to come home, then they break down. It's nap time. They're hungry. And then I'm just so, like you said, overwhelmed, stressed, trying to get home. And I find myself thinking, why do I even bother? Why do I try going to these things? Or why am I, what, And I was like, but there's an underlying assumption that it's bad if the kids are crying. It's bad if they're tired. It's bad if they're hungry. Of course, we want to get them a nap and get them some food at some point.
Yeah.
But it's not bad. It's actually, and that's the thing about little ones is they don't try to repress their emotions and think that they should change them. They just kind of act out on them, which we don't want to be doing as adults either necessarily. But it's okay for them to be tired. It's okay for them to be hungry. And maybe you don't want to go out with them in that state, but you can. And so just knowing like nothing's actually wrong here. I'm just in the car with tired, hungry kids.
I mean, that sounds like a simple concept. You think about, I mean, when I think about the mental health crisis of so many teenagers specifically, there's just no way, in my opinion, that it's not at least exacerbated by parents not having this kind of awareness. Sure. And so then when our teens are like, I'm anxious, I'm stressed about this, and then we're like, that's a problem that needs to be solved. I mean, that just blows it up. Instead of like so many times my teenagers have been like, and not even as teens, even younger, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm just so anxious. And I'm like, oh, you are right on track. Yeah. Being 13, that's like pretty anxiety inducing. Yes. Like you are a perfectly healthy, normal 13-year-old. Yes. And does that make them perfectly zen and at peace? No. But it's also like, it settles something probably in the nervous system, right? Where it's like, it's okay. I can feel okay about this anxiousness or whatever.
That's exactly right. It's the number one topic I get asked to speak to teenagers on is anxiety. They'll say, can you come speak to these teenagers and focus on anxiety? They have a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
Well, what the adults mean is, can you help them not be so anxious?
So I can feel better. Yeah.
Yes. So that we can feel better. And what I tell them first and foremost is exactly what you said. It's totally fine to be anxious. Like anxiety is a normal part of a human experience. And we kind of label everything anxiety nowadays.
Yeah.
Or we are resisting negative emotions and then it's escalating into anxiety.
Yeah.
It's part of the issue. There's a lot to that, of course. And so, yeah, you're exactly right. The way you're handling it with your kids. I usually say something like, oh, yeah, I get anxious sometimes too. Yeah. Right? When they're like, I'm just so anxious or I'm scared or I'm whatever. And I say, oh, yeah, I feel that way sometimes too. I'm sorry you're feeling that way because I want to show
compassion,
empathy,
validation.
Right?
Yeah.
And I might even help them process it, especially when I have some kind of nervous kids and especially when they're younger and they would be crying and, like shortness of breath and whatever. And I would be like, let's just take some deep breaths.
Yeah.
Like just breathe in, breathe out. So we are processing the emotion, but what's important that we're trying to do is not teach them that it's wrong to feel that way.
Yeah, something's wrong with them.
And it's just like physical pain, right? Like again, I think about my kid coming to me saying, "Mom, I was running around outside and I stubbed my toe and they're in pain." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry." But I'm not really thinking that's a problem. Like that's part of living in a human body. And if you're going to run around without shoes on, there's good chance you're going to injure yourself. And this is okay. Like I still am there. I'm empathetic. We're treating it, but I'm not like, somebody help me figure out how to keep my kid from cutting himself, from getting injured ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's going to happen sometimes as a human being. So anyway, that's true for us too.
Yeah, it makes me think about Eckhart Tolle's like kind of what is that concept of like identifying with the pain body, like overly identifying with that. Yes. Like it becomes the identity is the anxiety or the whatever. And then it becomes so pathological that it's like, oh my gosh, it's like our whole world instead of like, this is one aspect of usually like a good sign of like, we're taking on challenge, we're growing, and it's just as much of a sign of that. Yeah. Okay. What are some early signs that someone is going through, entering like a harder emotional season rather than just having a rough day where it's like, how do you make that distinction?
So I think that I'm in a rough season or I'm having a bad day. It all just goes in the thought line, we would say in coaching, right? We're trying to always separate out. This is a fact and this is a thought. So let's be clear about the facts are things that we can't control necessarily in many cases, and we don't want to argue with, but then everything else, thoughts, stories is up for grabs. So I'm in a rough season. I'm entering a rough season, or I'm just having a bad day. They're both thoughts. And so that's not to say that we wouldn't want to have thoughts, but if somebody comes to me and they say to me, how do I know if I'm having a bad day or I'm in a rough season? I ask them more questions. And if choosing to believe I'm entering a rough season or this, I'm just in a rough season right now, gives them more self-compassion, more openness for their experience, more tenderness for themselves, and makes them feel like a little bit safer even in the discomfort, then I would lean hard into it. And I would sell them as a coach on the idea that they're in a rough season.
Yeah.
If, on the other hand, I think that's going to create, like you're talking about with Eckhart Tolle, like an identity that actually keeps
Life is
them
hard.
stuck and weighs them down and causes them to become more of a victim or whatever, then I would be like, no, you're not in a rough season. You're just having a bad day.
Yeah.
So I don't know the difference, to be honest. I don't think it matters. I think it's individual.
Yeah.
And that's the power really of what I've learned over the years with just applying this work to myself and seeing so many people is like, you literally get to think about it however you want.
It's so exciting. Like it still is so exciting to me.
I still have moments where I'm like, oh, like literally this week, I'll just give you an example. So I'm trying to clean up my eating and be healthier. And as I age, it affects my body more and everything. But sometimes I still love a McDonald's breakfast sandwich.
Oh my gosh. Why is it a McDonald's breakfast? I couldn't.
Oh, the rest of it, I can
forget it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally. I mean, a French fry.
But it's the breakfast.
But the breakfast sandwich. And I used to eat a lot of fast food breakfast, and it just doesn't serve my body well. Right. And so I mostly don't. But every now and then I just want, and I have this shame around it where I'm a little bit like, well, after I take the kids to school, my husband's off serving, nobody will see me and I'll just go through the drive-through, you know? And recently I had this thought like, wait a second, what if I just really embrace this for myself? And I made it like the same way I think about like my sister, Natalie, for example. She's amazing. And I'm aware of some of her weaknesses, you might say, and I don't care at all. They're like kind of endearing. It's kind of cute. Like just
totally. The story. And Natalie's amazing about owning them in the most confident way that you're like, yeah, I want to drink more Red Bulls.
Yeah, exactly. And
or whatever.
We all know people like this, right?
Totally.
Who are able to own even things that they wouldn't say this is the ideal way to live my life, but they just kind of own it. And it's kind of endearing. Yeah. And I was like, I could just embrace that that's kind of cute and quirky about me. Yeah. Even though it doesn't serve my highest health goals. You know what I mean? And I was like, what if I tried really embracing all those things that I'm kind of ashamed of, you know, these little things. Like I literally could think of it that way if I wanted to. And that's a little tiny example, but this is true. This will help so much in your parenting. Every time a woman says to me, oh, I just want to be a good mom. I always say, that's a terrible thought. Yeah. I mean, for most people, in most cases. Totally. It's not an all or nothing, but in most cases, it's a terrible thought because all we do is find all the ways that we're falling short. But that's why I have a t-shirt. I should have worn it. It says world's okayest mom. Because totally, when I decided like, I'm just an okay mom. Like some days I do a really good job and in some ways I'm really good at it. But other days I fall very short. And in other ways, I just am lacking the skills or even the desire. Yeah. Right. Like I'm not going to go to parent teacher conference. Yeah. Well, no, I go to that. I just won't go to back to school night.
Yeah. Not joining the PTA.
No. And even
I don't want to volunteer.
They want me to come volunteer in their classroom. I'm like, not going to happen. Sorry. And I don't think that's ideal. I think it would be great if I did. Anyway, so when you really realize, wait a second, I can make this mean that I'm falling short in some way. And I get it. Like our kids matter. And that's what I hear a lot is like, but these kids deserve better and we want to provide the best for them. I'm like, it all sounds so positive and lovely, but it's so heavy and impossible.
Yeah. So we're just setting ourselves up for failure over and over. Yeah.
And ironically enough, you become a much better mother because when you're more patient with yourself and more just accepting and kind to yourself, it's a lot easier to be kind and accepting and patient of your kids and everybody around you.
Yeah. I've told this story before, maybe not on the podcast, but when in the early days being in your coaching program, that was definitely the thing that I would beat myself up about the most, was what kind of mom I was. And so I started playing with it of like, what's like the most, like how far can I make my brain stretch right now to just believe a new thought? Like if these are all made up thoughts anyway, let's just mess with this. And so I bought myself a plaque that said world's best mom. And I mean, thoughts are all about what they mean personally to you. And so it's like, that was my world's okayest mom, like most okayest mom, because it was like world's best mom for my kids, for who I am, for like my home. This is like the best in that it's not perfect, but like, this is how it's meant to be. And it was so wildly effective at actually, like, the point was not for me to change my behaviors as a mom, but it did happen because then I was just started noticing all the ways where I was a really good mom, where before I was noticing all the ways where I was falling short. And then I was just like literally walking around like, yeah, look at me reading to my kids another bedtime story. Like, who does that? Look at me folding laundry. Look at me working. Look at me, like all of these things, showing them how to be human and balancing work and family and whatever. And it was true. Like, I mean, it was a turning point for me in how
powerful your mind is.
Yes.
Well, and there's two really important points you're highlighting with that example. The first one being that thoughts are personal, right? So for me, putting world's best mom just makes me go, except for here and not there, and you're falling short there.
Yeah.
Whereas for you, it helps you focus on that, right? Yeah. And so it's so not to say that there are good ways and bad ways to think about things. And this is why coaching is so powerful, because you have to figure out in what way am I creating some unnecessary suffering for myself or preventing what I actually want, and what are alternatives that I can believe. And then the second thing is when you talk about wanting to just see how far can I stretch myself to believe something, that's an extraordinary skill that will serve you in every area of your life. If you can just choose to believe something, even without any proof, without anybody validating it, right? You just choose to believe it, and nobody even has to know that you're working on that belief. But I like to think about having a relationship with it, and like a secret little, like no one needs to know that I'm trying to believe I'm the world's best mom right now, or that I'm the best business owner, or that I'm going to achieve this goal or whatever. But you get to have a relationship with it and nurture that. And if you're open that way, and this is the challenging thing, is sometimes we're not willing to let go of the painful story. I always say it's like you're hugging a cactus and I'm trying to take it away from you and you're just hugging it tighter. And I don't know why you're doing that, but
why do we do that?
Well, it feels useful to the brain. It feels necessary and important.
Like protective or...
So if I'm believing that I'm falling short in all these ways, and I'm, as you know, my coach is trying to show me like that I'm not, or that it's normal to fall short or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but this, yeah, but that. Part of my brain, and you could call it the ego or whatever, thinks that if I let that go, then I'm never going to improve. It feels useful to hold on to it, right? Like that's the way to improvement, is to notice where I'm falling short. And so again, through the process that I do in my coaching, is like, we're trying to prove to your brain this is not useful, actually. Yeah. It's actually creating more of the very problem you don't want.
Yeah. And so just let it go. One thing I was amazed by in one of your coaching practices was, I don't remember if it was you or Natalie. I'm sure you've said it on many different occasions, but some things actually we are just ready to let go of them without even like a big process or fanfare. It's just like building just enough awareness to just like, I'm just going to set this down and
That's
just
right.
leave it. And that is really fun too.
That
It's
is
just like, I don't
so
even
fun.
have to do all this work. Some things are just ready to be shed, you know?
Especially when people are new to it.
Yeah.
Usually there are a handful of
Yes.
things that they just go, oh, wait. As soon as you start sorting out facts from thoughts,
Yeah.
usually
Oh,
you'll
yeah.
go, oh, like, for example, she's my friend.
Mm-hmm.
We think that we're describing reality, that we're describing what is in the
Yeah.
world mostly. And mostly what we're describing are our thoughts, which is fine. I had one person misunderstand me, and she was like, my husband and I decided we're only going to talk about facts. I was like, what? No, that's
Also, good
that's
luck.
weird. Don't do that. Like, I want you to have thoughts.
Yeah.
You can just let your brain operate
Not the
on autopilot
encyclopedias. Yeah.
98% of the time, and it's going to work great.
Yeah.
But there's 2% of the time when you're going to go, wait a second, she's my friend. And that's just a thought, right? Friendship is just a thought. Like, I think about you. And if somebody says, do you know Elle? I'm like, oh yeah, we're friends. We're very close actually. And you might be like, we kind of know each other, you know? And so who's right? We're both right. It's just how we think about it in our minds. And when you start realizing, oh my goodness, these are all just made up beliefs, made up thoughts.
Totally.
Then, like you said, there are some that you're just like, nope, done with that one.
Yeah.
Like, even it's best to be organized. You shouldn't procrastinate. You know, as a business owner, again, I had this other insight the other day where my husband kind of keeps the books in the business and we communicate about it. And so I have some understanding of what's going on, but I am not a numbers person. And when it comes to marketing, everybody's like, well, what's the conversion from here to here? And how do we tighten that conversion? And I'm just like, I don't really care. Like, I don't want to be bothered with it.
Yeah.
And it's a, you know, coming from a lack of skill in personal development, I could grow in this way for sure. But the other day I had this thought, like, but also it's kind of my superpower because I don't spend a lot of time trying to get 2% gains. I spend more time thinking bigger about how to just find more people to serve. So
100%. And that gets you there.
And it gets me there.
Bigger way, arguably.
In a bigger way sometimes. Yeah. And, you know, so I was like, you know, but people say as an entrepreneur, you have to know your numbers. If you want to succeed in marketing, you've got to know your numbers. And I'm always like, yeah, that's true. You got to know your numbers. And then I secretly like, I should know better. I kind of know them, but I should know them better. The other day I was like, wait a second, you have to know your numbers. It's just a thought.
Yeah.
And it works great for a lot of people.
Who are good at numbers.
But maybe it's not. Yeah. Maybe it's not useful to me. Maybe it's like, I need to know some of the numbers. I need to make sure we're not, you know, that we're profitable, but I don't actually need to know all the numbers.
You can't do it all. That's my husband and I are similar. Well, except that like both of us are pretty, at least you got some balance.
You need one person in there.
Yeah. One concept that I love from you is raising your minimum baseline. I don't know if that's what you call it. Is that what you call it?
That's a concept I originally learned from Brooke Castillo, and I think that's what she calls it. So
good.
Yeah.
Can you explain it a little bit?
Yeah. So your minimum baseline is kind of like the minimum you're going to do in any area of your life. So it can apply with your health goals, with your business, with your parenting, whatever. So let's just take home life as an example. It's probably relatable to everybody. Is there are minimum things I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to make sure everybody has some food to eat.
Yeah.
Right. But am I going to cook a really well-balanced, nice meal? Or are we going to kind of just grab whatever we find in the freezer and throw it in the air fryer and call it dinner? So minimum baseline is like, and we all have them without consciously thinking about it. We have minimums. Like, how long would you go without showering or whatever?
Yeah, like a standard.
Yeah,
like,
it's your minimum. Now, often we're aiming for more than minimum, and we often achieve more than minimum, but it's okay to just hit the minimum. And there are seasons and times in life and when you have to give yourself permission just to be doing the minimum, right? We talk a lot about balance in life, but this is another kind of idea that set me free when I first started, because my first two kids were 15 months apart accidentally.
It's wild.
That's
wild.
And I didn't handle it very well. And let's just say, and I had to give myself permission to just not be in balance. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not in balance right now. And this won't be forever, but I'm out of balance. Or even when I started growing my business, or sometimes now, I'm like, for the next couple weeks, I'm going to be out of balance. I'm going to be really heavily focused on my business. And then I'm going to go on vacation with my family, out of balance again.
Yeah.
Anyway, but my point is minimum baselines. So if you just decide in certain areas of your life, you want to pause and consciously decide, what is my minimum baseline here? What do I want to, like, no matter what, this will get done.
Yeah.
Like in my business, I decided pretty early on that I would send an email every week to my list to offer them some value. And I would record a podcast every week and publish a podcast every week. Now, in the beginning, that sounded like a lot, publishing a podcast every week. But I was like, no matter what, that happens. Now, there's a lot of other things I want to do to serve my clients and take care of them and grow my business and all that. But no matter what, those two things.
It's your foundation. Yeah.
And obviously showing up for coaching if I have clients scheduled, right? But those are things that are easy to go, well, I didn't do it this week because of fill in the blank. But when I decided that's my minimum baseline, then I did it no matter what. And I was publishing my own podcast in the beginning. And so some nights I would get in bed and go, oh, dang it. I recorded it, but I didn't edit it and upload it. And then I'd be in bed with my laptop and my headphones, like editing and publishing and recording, because even the week I had my fourth child, I published a podcast. Now I can get it done early, right? And plan for it. So when you recognize, and this will relate to your health goals. Maybe your minimum baseline is I drink this much water and I get this much sleep and I get an average of this many steps. Yeah. And maybe you try to aim for more than that, try to lift some weights and whatever, but that's your minimum baseline. Like no matter what, this happens. So you don't want to raise it so high though, that you can't pretty easily fulfill it.
Yeah. You don't want it to be a maximum.
Yeah. But if you just raise it a little bit even and you fully commit to it, then that pays off in the long run exponentially.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So.
A friend of mine that went to Harvard Business School, he's like, and has run a bunch of companies. He's like, it's the daily march that most people can't do. Yeah. It's the daily march. Like that's what gets really tiring, really hard, and creating those habits and boring.
And it feels like it's not making a difference. It's like, I love the saying, things that are easy to do are easy not to do.
100%.
Because it doesn't feel like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But those are the things that exponentially over time create what we want ultimately. We're all looking for big wins and big, I'll do something really hard for temporary, but doesn't create ultimately
some big experience with our kids instead of like, I'm just like, whenever they come in the room, I'm going to smile.
Yes.
Like, I just want them to know I'm happy to see them always.
It's a great example. Like you don't actually have to plan the big expensive trip and whatever that they may or may not even remember that. Yeah. It's the little tiny, like, last night I was, kind of preparing for an event I have tomorrow, a coach training graduation that we have tomorrow. So exciting. There are 25 new coaches graduating from coach training.
Are you kidding? I want to do it.
All coming to town. You should definitely do it. Okay. So fun. But anyway, so I don't usually work after my kids are home from school, but I was on my laptop and trying to get stuff ready. And my daughter, I could tell she was trying to like invite some Christmas. She was saying things like, can we watch Home Alone? And can we whatever? And I was like, I'm going to shut down my laptop and we're going to make the Christmas cookies that she's been wanting to make. It's those little things instead of keeping on working. I need to develop more minimum baselines with my kids, I think, now that you say that. Yeah. But it is a really... Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's easier in business, but that is why I think it's fun to work. Yeah. Because it does, you see that like those quicker harvests and you're like, oh, that really actually, I could implement this anywhere. What are some compassionate but realistic thoughts that women can offer themselves when they're really at their lowest? It doesn't, I think just so often it just feels like fake or toxic positivity even, or magical thinking. It's just like, just doesn't work.
Well, I'll say what's worked for me and what works for a lot of my clients. But again, thoughts are personal. So you have to kind of try them on and play with them. This is by no means like a one size fits all. But what I have found to help people the most with personal connection, that if I could give one thing, one gift, if I just had one thing that every client took away from me, it would be a better, more solid connection with themselves.
Yeah.
And so when we're struggling, whether it's, again, a big change in life or we don't even know why we're struggling, right? You need your own compassion and connection more than ever. And what we do is the opposite. We become very critical and judgmental and frustrated with ourselves. And so some of my favorite thoughts are things like, oh, how very human of me. So let me give you an example. I have a woman I coached the other day who, in her job, she gets reviews from her clients or customers. I think they're patients. I think she's in the healthcare field. Anyway, she gets reviews and she always gets 5-star reviews, except the other day she got a couple 4-star reviews. And it sent her kind of spinning. And she kept saying, this is so dumb. I know they're just 4, there's only 2 and all the rest of them are 5-star. Yeah. And I don't know why it's bothering me so much, but I just can't stop thinking about it. And it's really sent me down this, this rabbit hole of maybe I'm not cut out for this and all this stuff. And all the while she's like, but this is I'm 55 years old. I should know better. Like I'm confident. Okay. So what I said to her was like, okay, she thinks she wants my help, like not being so upset about the 4-star reviews. But what I told her is that's not actually where the most valuable work is to do. Because you already know, you already have all the logical thoughts about that. The most important work here is this is an opportunity to connect with yourself. When you notice yourself spinning out about something that you think you shouldn't be, do you judge yourself and go, what's the matter with you? Snap out of it. You know better. You're 55 years old. Because would you say that to someone else you cared about? Or
that's a good way to frame it.
Kind and compassionate. And so I was like, it's just so human of you, right? To wish that everyone gave you 5 stars. And isn't that kind of sweet and tender? And surprising. You didn't expect that it would bother you this much. And kind of cool to know that there's still more available to you in terms of letting go of needing everyone's approval or whatever. There's still some interesting work to be done, but we don't need to be in a rush to do it because you're always going to be a human. So like, how very human of me
I'd love
to be in this tailspin and kind of surprising, but sweet. And it's totally okay.
Yeah.
So I love that one. Like it works for yourself, but it works when you're in judgment of others too. Like, look at my family being so human. Look at all these humans. Like humans are fascinating. We are fragile.
We're all
and tender. And
totally.
Yeah. So I really like that one. And to kind of piggyback on that, I guess, I think that true confidence is being able to acknowledge that you're good and you're doing a good job and you're a good person and acknowledge your strengths and your goodness. But I think it's also being able to just embrace and accept your weaknesses and shortcomings. And I don't mean accept them like you're not capable of growing and changing. Yeah. You are, but accept that you are where you are. And so one of our common teachers, Brooke Castillo, is a really good example of this. Like I've watched her in her real life because I know her a little bit personally. And, I remember somebody saying to her a long time ago, hey, some of your coaches were talking bad about you, and I just think you should know what they said. And she was like, oh, hold on. Don't tell me. Just assume it's true. And I don't even need to know what it is. But just assume it's true. And I was like, wow, that was a surprising response because what if it's not true, And she's like,
don't you want to defend yourself?
It's true to them. They think it's true. And I'm sure there's at least a grain of truth in it.
Yeah.
Like when somebody comes along and criticizes me and says I don't know what I'm talking about or I'm selfish or whatever, there's at least a grain of truth. And I don't always know what I'm talking about. I can be selfish at times. And just seeing her embrace her shortcomings in that way. And she doesn't get defensive. She doesn't need to know what it is. She's like, listen, you want to talk about the things I'm not good at? Get in line behind me. because I can tell you way better than you can tell me.
Right? It's so true of all of us.
And I've learned that what am I going to do? Be mad at myself about it or be like, yeah, it's true. You're not very good at that. And maybe I'm working on it, or maybe it's just something that I don't care to get good at. So really those are, and again, especially when we're struggling with something, right? When we're in a dark place, that is what we need the most, is our own compassion and maybe curiosity, but not judgment and frustration and impatience and all the things that your default brain will want to give you. Because again, your brain thinks that's helpful, thinks it's going to get you out of it. It's not helpful. It's like, I would say, if we're trying to get to the south end of the lake, which is some peace and some compassion, then rowing north isn't going to get you south. Yeah. And rowing north is all the judgment and lack of patience for yourself. But if you're just like, oh, hun, like that's how I talk to myself. I'm like, oh, hun, I see what you did there. Yeah. That was cute. And we're probably not going to want to do that forever, but it's okay. It's kind of funny that you did that. And that's kind of what you do. We know this about you. Yeah. And you just come out of it a lot faster.
One that reminds me of an analogy that I've heard you use about fruit. It's like some people like peaches and some people hate them and some people like water. Like maybe you're a watermelon. Some people love watermelon and some people don't, and whatever, just in terms of like judgment from other people. That was incredibly useful for me to hear, especially like as a leader, as a CEO. Because some employees, like, this is just not a fit, or maybe it is, or what. I just am who I am, and you get to figure yourself out from here. But like, I don't need to pretend to be a peach if I'm a cherry or
like, you're
whatever.
Not for everyone. And if somebody's disapproving of you, but it's pretty neutral.
Like just who you are.
That's right.
And
like,
you don't.
Peaches aren't better than watermelon. Just
totally
some people
neutral.
prefer them.
Yep. Yeah, I've used that one with my kids a ton.
Yeah.
Speaking of curiosity, how do you think that plays into like these darker emotional times that we can come into?
I'm a big fan of us being more curious in general in our lives, because I think it's the easiest shortcut out of judgment, whether it's judgment for yourself or judgment of others. Because judgment comes from a knowing. I know what's right. I know the best way, the right way, the good way. And you have to get out of the knowing to get out of judgment, because most people don't think that. They think of getting out of judgment as accepting, right? So let's say I'm judging my brother for how he's chosen to live his life. And they'll say, I know I should stop judging him. Like, I should just accept the way he's living his life. I'm like, no, what if, and if you can get to acceptance, that is great. But if you can't, then you just get to curiosity. Yeah. Like, let me give a little bit more real example. Let's say I have a kid who plays nonstop video games, and I'm worried about how many video games he plays. And for whatever reason, I'm not enforcing it, or maybe he's a college kid and I can't enforce it or whatever, right? So I can be worried. That's not even exactly the same as judgment. I might just think that he's ruining his life, or even a kid on drugs, addicted to drugs, right? And he's going to end up in this dark place, whatever. So curiosity sounds like, I wonder, and I love to ask my clients this, what games does he play? And sometimes they know, and often they don't. And then I'll say, what does he love about that game? And I'll say, why is he so drawn to it? What's the objective of the game even? And usually they have no idea. Yeah. Which tells me we haven't been in curiosity. Yeah. Because if you're in curiosity, then you ask your son those questions. Yeah. And not with an agenda. Yeah. Because they'll know the difference. Oh, yeah. But if you're genuinely curious, you're just like, now, what is this game about? Maybe you even play it with them. Yeah. Right? And what do you love about it? You're going to have an opportunity to connect with your child, and they may or may not be open to that, but it's a lot more useful. So much more useful. Like, tell me about these drugs. What does it feel like to be on that drug? I'm curious. I've heard some things. Yeah. It obviously is really powerful. What is that like for you? What is it like when you don't take those drugs? And again, they may or may not be open to this conversation, but that's where I want your head. I wonder why. I wonder what it's like to be that person. And so the same can apply to yourself, right? Curiosity. Again, I'll go back to the woman with the 4-star reviews, right? I was like, What if you're just like, that I wonder why? Not like, why did that trigger me? Why?
Yeah.
I shouldn't be. Not that kind of a question, but a genuine, what's that about? What is here? Because what she discovered was that she doesn't have perfectionism in a lot of areas of her life, but around her work, she really does. And I'm like, so maybe it's just coming from you really caring a lot about taking care of your patient. Maybe this isn't such a bad thing.
Yeah.
Maybe you can chalk it up as like, I really care about that. And I really see myself as an excellent provider. And that's okay. That's a good thing. I want to keep that. You know what I mean? So curiosity is just so much more useful.
Curiosity has served me so well in highly charged emotional situations with other people. The last 3 years, like one title could be like hard conversations.
Yeah.
Professionally, personally, just like in all the ways of like having to really get good at hard conversations and going into it with curiosity, because I don't know about you, but it's easy for me to work up in my mind, like the speech and how I'm going, like if I've already come to like, this is
Your
wrong.
points.
And I need to, all my points, my case that I'm bringing, like I can see it, or I know if I just bring that into this conversation, whether it's with a child about a video game or someone you're firing, like it's going to yield just total disconnection, defensiveness, like nothing productive.
Yeah.
But if I can't go to, and I don't want to like abandon what I actually like my goals or what I do know is right or true. But if I can just go in with that curiosity, it's so disarming, and genuine curiosity, sincere.
That's right. Yeah. That's
then
right.
it opens
And
it up.
you think about like the state of our country today, right? Where everybody's out to prove why their views are right and the other side is wrong. And that's not getting us anywhere, right?
No.
I keep talking about this book by Monica Guzman called I Never Thought of It That Way. And it's all about, if that's your objective, it doesn't mean, and she comes from a family where she has complete opposite politics of her parents and which I think a lot of us do actually.
Yeah.
But she talks about when she really got curious and said, I just want to understand why you see it this way. And she genuinely wanted to understand, not just so that she could make her counter argument. She asked enough questions. She said, eventually you will get to the point, and you don't stop asking and being curious until you get to the point where you can go, I never thought of it that way. And she's like, it doesn't mean I changed my opinion. I still vote the way I vote, and I still see it the way I see it, but I understand now why they see it their way.
Yeah.
And so many times what we're saying is, I hear this everywhere. I hear myself say it sometimes, like, I just don't understand why you could support that idea or that politician or this, or why would you play video games all day? Well, I just don't understand. And what I say is, every time we say that, I just don't understand, what we mean is, I don't want to understand. I think you're wrong and I'm right. If you want to understand, you have to open up and be willing to hear what they have to say and then ask more questions until you do understand. It's all understandable. We all have valid reasons for it. So
and you can still, keep your vote the way you want to vote. I was just listening to your webinar on this of political differences in families and how to navigate that. I have a lot of siblings, but one of my siblings, this year I had noticed over the last few years, I know that she did too, one of my sisters, that we had been like pulling just very organically away from each other because our political differences are really, and lifestyles, everything just really, really different. And that was the thought loop in my mind. It's like, we're so different. And then, and so earlier this year I was like, hey, and she was all on board too, getting together. She lives out of state. Let's like go to Joshua Tree for a few days and just hang out, like just as sisters and talk. And we both, I was so nervous before. And it was as I was starting this podcast too. And I was like, oh, I just don't want this podcast to be like, it's just going to exacerbate the differences, you know? And you know what we agreed upon? We didn't even talk about politics that much. It was just like, going into just reconnecting as human beings. We're both women, we're moms, we're sisters, we have this shared history.
You're
Let's
not that
pull on
different,
all of that,
actually.
right?
Yeah.
Not that different.
Right.
So that like broke that thought loop. And then it was also, I was like, you really don't have to watch my podcast. That's what I told her. I was like, that's not like, she's like, oh, I feel nervous because I don't want to like feel more disconnected. And I was like, that's like, who cares? Please don't. I don't care if you watch it. Like, it's totally fine. And anyway, it was just an interesting kind of exercise, not like, we have a lot more in common than we think we do, but also just that genuine curiosity leading with that. And I was like, and this is the thing, as radically different as we are in many ways, like, I totally get why you think the way you do and why and I think that she felt similarly to me. And we left with a stronger mutual respect. And are either of us living differently in our day? No, not at all.
But that wasn't the goal, right? Yeah, that's so good. And I'll just add one other tool that's helpful here, I think, because what you and your sister both did was you were willing to be vulnerable with each other, right?
Yeah. And it was scary. I was shaking. The stakes feel high. This is my sister. I love her so much. But the choices at that point are, we're just never actually going to have an authentic relationship ever again. We're just going to stop talking. But we'll say that we're peaceable. Or we can grapple with this discomfort.
Yeah. And that can actually bring you closer, right?
Yeah.
Through the discomfort and the vulnerability. But one of the things I think helps people is I like to have them think through before a conversation like that. Like, what is the whole truth?
Yeah.
And for me, this has been really helpful.
Yes.
And there's usually two parts to the truth, and they sound kind of contradictory, but they're not, right? So one half of the truth, I don't know, for your sister, if I was talking to your sister maybe before she talked to you, one part might be, I don't want to listen to that podcast because she's probably going to be talking about ideas that just aren't of interest to me or I disagree with or whatever.
Yeah.
And the other half of the truth is, I don't want my sister to feel that I'm judging her, or that I don't support her, or that I'm not excited for whatever she's wanting to pursue in her life. So those are like, they feel contradictory, but they're both true for her.
Totally.
And when you figure out first for yourself, what is the whole truth? I mean, sometimes this is on even a smaller scale of like, Mom, I know you want me to stay at your house when we come for Christmas. And I want you to feel supported and like close to us and have a good experience. But what's also true for me is I don't want to stay at your house because there's not enough room or whatever. We need space, or like the whole truth. When you tell people are always like, okay, I know I need to set a boundary and I need to say no. And
I'm not coming to your house.
Sister, I'm not listening to your podcast or just not listen to it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, there's that half, but there's the other half where you're like, and even part of the truth is I'm really nervous even having this conversation with you. I was kind of scared to reach out to you in the first place, because the last thing I want is for us to grow even further apart or for you to feel judged or offended. But I want to be real with you. Like, the whole truth is messy. It doesn't exactly make sense, but it's so lovable. It's really hard for somebody to reject or judge your honest truth.
Totally.
And so that's where, again, talking to a friend or a coach or someone to help you figure out what is even true, because we have to figure it out first, and then you can figure out what's appropriate way to communicate.
Yeah. I think that we often lie to ourselves that like what we think of as like really like the most honest thing is actually just not.
It's only half.
It's only half.
People are like, well, this is just my truth, is I don't want to stay at your house.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's only half the truth.
And judgment of ourselves.
So like defensive about it.
And judgment of ourselves too, of like, I failed.
Yes.
I failed at whatever, like I suck at whatever. And it's like, okay, like, yeah, like here, let's expand upon that.
Yeah.
And then we get somewhere that is so much easier to work with.
Yeah.
You talk a lot about emotional ownership, and I love this idea because it's so empowering. It's like so many of us go through life totally at the affect of external circumstances. And we think that's just the way that life is. And it's just always like praying and hoping that like the sky doesn't fall today. Like that's life. How, what does emotional ownership, like, how do you define that? And also how do how do you conceptualize it for someone who is really like overwhelmed
Yeah.
down the well?
It goes back to what you talked about in the beginning with the emotional maturity quiz, right? So emotional childhood we define as giving the credit for your emotions to things outside of you or other people. Emotional adulthood is recognizing that your emotions are created by your internal interpretation of the things outside of you. And so when we are in emotional adulthood, we just have a lot more options. It's actually the truth anyway, right?
Yeah.
Emotional childhood is believing a lie. So it's the truth is that we're creating it with our interpretation, but then you become empowered because you have control over yourself and your own mind and your own internal interpretation, whereas you do not have control over the world around you. And that's why so many people are operating in fear and panic and can't stop watching the news and whatever, because like you said, they're waiting to see, are things going to go my way to know whether or not they're going to feel good.
Or they try to control everything, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
how does that work?
None of us ever do that. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. And it's often coming from a good place, right? Like, I just want my kids to be happy.
Yeah.
But why? Because your kids actually don't always want to be happy. They actually wouldn't even serve them to live a life like that. They're supposed to struggle. They're supposed to be unhappy at times, and they need to have space for that. And so the reason we want them to be happy all the time is because then it's easy for us to not have the noise that disrupts our own happiness. And so, anyway, emotional ownership, this is the way I like to think about it. And I don't know, it might be a little extreme for some people, but when I don't like the way something's going in my life or my business or my home or the way I'm feeling or even in my marriage, I always want it to be my fault. Fault is kind of a strong word. Not everybody likes that word, but I like it because it so empowers me. I'm like, oh, this is my fault.
Yeah.
I'm the one who, it's easy to think, well, my husband and I are disconnected because he's very quiet and he never tells me what he's thinking and he never opens up and he never shares his thoughts. But if it's his fault, I'm kind of screwed because I don't know how to change him.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to want to.
Yeah.
But if I'm like, oh, me feeling disconnected from my husband is my fault. I'm not saying his behavior is my fault. I'm saying my emotions are my fault. And again, fault may not be the right word for everyone. But for me, I just go, so, all right, I'm just willing to live with it because I don't want to change anything about me right now. Or I go, if I really want to feel connected, I have to figure out how to be more vulnerable and more open and communicate the whole truth to him more clearly and appreciate and accept him as he is and not need him to change. I have to connect with
such a huge concept
with Jake. My husband is Jake. Not like, it would be better if you were like a more Jody-ish Jake, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So anyway,
totally.
That's the power of owning your emotions. And it doesn't even have to go you don't have to solve for them, like we said in the beginning, to get a lot of relief. When you just go, oh, sentences in my head. That's why I'm feeling this way.
I love that.
Like, I have thoughts about my husband. That's why I'm feeling this way. And it's not his behavior.
Yeah.
Interesting. Right? And you just let it be interesting.
Yeah.
It will free you up because your brain will shift away from overanalyzing your husband over to being a little bit more aware and curious about your own self, which is what you do have the control over. So,
and then other people can choose to have this freedom or not, but it does tend to like naturally release people a little bit in your like inner circle to be more of themselves, and only good things can happen.
Mel Robbins' latest book, Let Them.
Yeah.
Right? Let them tells your brain like, okay, I'm just going to let them do what they're doing. So nice of us, as though we had any other option, right?
Totally.
So she's not saying like, because literally we can't control people. Yeah. We can't take away their agency. We wouldn't want to anyway. Let them is just a redirect for your brain.
Yeah,
like,
just stop fighting with reality.
And then it redirects to like, let me. Okay, so what am I going to do?
Yep.
Maybe this isn't a relationship I want to be in, actually.
Yeah.
Or maybe I do decide to set a boundary, or maybe I just am going to let it go and stop focusing on it. But that's the let them concept. It redirects you back to emotional. It doesn't quite go so far as to say I'm feeling this way because of my own brain, but it gets your head in the right direction.
Do you know what I do? Is Jared, my husband, was really excited when I told him that I do this like once a year or more, but I like leave him in my mind and the kids and everything. Like I quit my whole life when I hit these low points, just in my mind where I'm just like, I don't have to do any of this.
Because you don't.
I'm not going to be a martyr to my own life.
Apartment in LA, not tell him where you
100%. I don't
People
have to do
it.
The first time I did it was when years ago we had just 3 of our 4 kids in, and we did this big Europe trip, and we were in Greece, we were in Santorini, and I like, for a rare moment, didn't have anyone with me. I was like, okay, you watch your kids. I'm going to go into this little like bar cafe thing that was to grab some yogurt. Like walked away, and I walk in this bar, and I don't drink, I don't hang out at bars, but it was the middle of the day, but it was like cool music. Like my old self was just there in this place, like young, like cool people. I don't know. I was just like walking into this other reality, and I like saw everyone outside, like in the distance, my kids and Jared, and I was like, maybe I won't go back.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just stay here.
Yeah.
And it was such a profound moment of like, I could.
Yeah.
Like I choose them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that choosing, there's just so much power that comes in that of like,
that's right.
I'm either choosing you or I'm not, but let's like own that choice now, which I think feeds into that kind of how I define emotional ownership.
So good.
Okay, Jody, thank you for being here. I have a few rapid fire questions for you. What's your deepest, darkest secret?
Oh,
just joking.
I'm glad you asked.
Just joking. Okay, we talk a lot about maiden, mother, matriarch, just like this kind of general feminine phase. It may or may not include children. Most of us, it does. What do you miss the most, and what do you miss the least about your maiden, like single years?
Oh, such a good question. I think what I miss the most is that I had a really natural, what's the word? Just like curiosity and excitement for what was to come next in life. Like I was always excited, and I wouldn't say I was in a rush or impatient about it, but I was excited about leaving home and then, meeting people, relationships, friends, boyfriends, whatever. And then one day getting married. So I had a natural optimism and excitement about what was coming in my life. And versus where I am now, I foster that, but I have to work at it because my brain naturally wants to go, well, it's only downhill from here. You know, now your
not
kids
as much
are
ahead.
getting older. They're going to leave you. You're getting old. You're not going to be able to do as much. So I coach myself around that to be more optimistic. And I would say I get to more like 50-50. I'm not dreading the future, but I definitely miss that. Yeah.
I agree with that.
And I guess what I miss the least is the uncertainty that comes along with that of just like what is going to happen next and
totally
who is going to be in my life. I remember just being really afraid of being alone and lots of loneliness and as well as like I was much more insecure in that phase. Like, much more worried about what people thought of me or how I looked or things like that. I don't miss that at all.
No, I don't miss that either. Yeah. Okay, now what about being a mom? What do you like the most? What do you like the least?
Gosh, I just love the relationships and having these people in my life so significantly, meaning my kids and my husband. But like as a mom, I feel like I get to experience these people in an intimate way because I spend so much time with them and sometimes they ask my opinion about things and I get to make some choices in their lives at times. And that's really fun to get to know somebody on that level. And I'm just very fascinated by all of them, by all of their personalities and what makes them tick and who they're going to become. And it's like a front row seat to a play. I always say I used to say it's like watching a movie, but I decided it's like a play because it's live. And from the audience, I get to shout things out. Sometimes like go that way. And they may or may not listen. But otherwise, I'm just watching the play of like what's going to happen next. And I just think it's magical and so much, the love and the whole experience of it. That's what I love most.
I
about
love that.
being a
That's
mom.
kind of like comes back to the curiosity. You're good at
Yeah.
cultivating
Like,
curiosity.
I wonder who she's going to be.
Yeah. So much more exciting than trying to control it.
Oh, yeah. I stopped trying to control it long ago. Maybe too much so, but
No way. And then least, what do you like least about being a
oh,
mom?
God. What do I like least? I mean, I don't think anymore that this is part of being a mom, but I used to because
Mhm.
I have an amazing mom who sacrificed a lot for us. So
Mhm.
she stayed home with us, made great meals and kept a great house and sewed clothes for us, and like she is an amazing woman and she is very ambitious. So she would have thrived in a work environment or doing her own. She
Yeah.
had plenty of her own dreams and goals. And so I so appreciate what she did for us. But I think I thought that was required as
Yeah.
a mom. And I no longer think that's true. I think it's great for people that choose it, but I don't
Right.
think it's required. So, my initial reaction is like, I don't love cooking. I
Mhm.
hate grocery shopping. I hate, laundry and housework and all that. But that's not being a mom. That's just life. Like
Yeah.
everyone has
I
to eat.
love that distinction. Totally.
It turns out that
Just figure out the way you want to do
you can
it.
figure out the way you want to do
Yeah.
it, and everybody can contribute.
Instacart's amazing. Uber Eats, amazing.
Yeah. So I don't know. I do have sometimes some mom guilt around like, because like I said, I'm pretty hands off. I'm pretty like, what's happening in this play today? And sometimes I think maybe I should be a little bit more, I don't know, you know, um, making them do more hard things or whatever. So there's that part that's not
Maybe
always
so, maybe.
fun, but very human of me, right? I just
Very
think,
human.
how human of you.
Yeah. Yeah. And who's to say what's the perfect
Yeah.
amount, right?
I'm like, well, again, world's okayest mom over here.
Doing it. Okay, last question. Matriarch year. So looking ahead, what are you most looking forward to? What are you least looking forward to?
I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I'm 51 now. So
No way.
yeah. I don't know what technically becomes the matriarch phase, but I did have my last child when I was 41. So I still have a 10-year-old at home. But anyway, I do feel myself moving more into the matriarchy phase. And I have been dreaming a lot about what kind of older woman do I want to be? And I'm trying to picture myself just like, what will my routines be? And so I think about little things like, I want to be the lady at church that always has candy in her purse, that the kids know they can come up and I will have candy.
Totally.
Or like little things like that I kind of dream about. And I still have kids at home and I'm not quite to that point, but I just think the fact that I get to choose things like that, like who do I want to be in my community? How do I want to be with my grandkids if I have grandkids one day?
Yeah.
And I do love, I don't know the answers to those things yet.
But it's
exciting. It's kind of fun to think about. Yeah.
I love that. Anything that you're worried about, not looking forward to with aging?
Oh, so many things. I am again really focused on trying to take care of my body right now because
you just feel everything now. It's like you kind of have to.
And I want to be able to like go up and down stairs as long as possible and just Yeah. I think it's hard when you don't have your health. And I do worry about when all my kids leave the house. It's going to force me to work on some things in my marriage that I've been able to avoid.
Yeah.
And I think
totally.
that
So
will be
busy,
good.
so
I'm not
full.
worried about my marriage.
Right.
Like I don't, unless something crazy happens, I don't foresee us having a big problem, but it is going to be an uncomfortable transition for us.
It's going to reveal.
That will be necessary. And yeah, that makes me a little nervous, to be honest.
I love it. So good. Thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you, Jody? And what are you working on right now that you'd want to share?
People can find me at jodymoore.com. Is that it? jodymoore.com.
It's jodymoore.com.
Like, does it have coaching in the name? No, it's just jodymoore.com. Okay. Or my podcast, Better Than Happy, if they like podcasts.
So good, you guys.
I'm really working more on helping other coaches
Mhm.
grow their businesses and in training coaches who want to become coaches. So I still have a program where I work with clients directly,
Mhm.
but my real passion right now is training and supporting other coaches. As I move into matriarchy, I want to like take more of a back
Yes.
seat and elevate
Yeah.
others.
Light out there.
So for anybody who's interested in that world, we're going to be doing a free 2-week pro coach camp that people can go check out at procoachcamp.com. It's just meant to elevate coaches. Really.
Amazing.
So that's my main
Amazing.
thing right now.
So grateful for all the ways that you have impacted my life, the lives of like thousands of women that
Thanks.
I don't know all of those thousands, but I know a lot of them. And your influence has already made such an impact and just lifted so many women in their motherhood and whatever phase they're in. So just really, really grateful for you. Thank you for taking the time to being here today.
Thanks for having me. And please come on to Better Than Happy. I want to have you on our show.
Love to.
Okay.
Be
Make it happen.
Okay. Thanks, Jody.
It was good.